Your Excellency, Dr. Ahmed Belloul Al-Farazi, Your Excellencies, distinguished guest speakers and esteemed guests and GEM colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly delighted on behalf of Global Entrepreneurship Monitor to be here today at the exciting venue of Expo 2020 Dubai on invitation of the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Economy and with the support of the Khalifa Fund for Enterprise Development. I wish to launch the opening of our 2021-22 GEM Global Report, which will be followed later this morning by the GEM UAE National Report launch, and in the afternoon by two events on women's entrepreneurship and on the impact of entrepreneurship on the Sustainable Development Goals. It's a great honour to have so many researchers, policymakers, entrepreneurs and innovators gathered here today in this astounding place to celebrate with GEM the publication of our iconic 2021-22 GEM Global Report. GEM was created by our founding organisations Babson College and London Business School in 1999. Over the last 23 years, GEM has made substantial contributions to our understanding of the phenomenon of entrepreneurship across the globe. Every year, dedicated experts that have formed GEM national teams in their economies have come together, exchanged ideas, and collected the data required for the GEM Global study. Currently, this means about 350 GEM researchers working worldwide to run representative surveys amongst the adult population, as well as surveys among each economy's experts in entrepreneurship. Up to now, the GEM adult population dataset has captured about 3.5 million observations across some 120 economies worldwide. The GEM expert dataset includes more than 36,000 expert assessments on the national conditions for entrepreneurship across the world. This enables GEM to produce the National Entrepreneurship Conditions Index, or NESI, a composite index representing in one figure the weighted average state of a set of key national entrepreneurship framework conditions identified by GEM. If nurtured by policymakers and relevant stakeholders, these conditions can result in a healthy national context that is conducive to entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is essential to creating employment, value and innovation while delivering products and services that people need across the world, both in developed and developing countries. An entrepreneurial culture is the foundation to any thriving economy and society. In the UAE, for example, it is evident that sustainable growth of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, many of which are represented here today, is a key part of the government's economic agenda. Traditional entrepreneurship has been the backbone of local economies for centuries. But as technology advances, we are witnessing the rapid emergence of increasingly innovative entrepreneurships transforming entire business sectors, from financial services to food and agriculture, connectivity, energy, water, and healthcare, making these services more efficient and more accessible for even greater portions of the world's population. The innovations profiled throughout Expo 2020 Dubai are testament to that. There is significant potential for entrepreneurship to make game-changing contributions to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The world has so many challenges, from sustainability to energy and water provision, food security, women empowerment, maintaining healthy families, to name but a few. Increasingly, entrepreneurship holds the key to much-needed solutions. As we move forward, policymakers will need more data and timely, in-depth analysis on the entire entrepreneurship landscape. By providing insights on the motivations and incentives of entrepreneurs, the drivers of entrepreneurship and on the state of entrepreneurial ecosystems, GEM can help policymakers to design better policies and in this way really help entrepreneurs. Your Excellency, Dr. Ahmed Belloul Al-Falazi, I would like to warmly congratulate you and UAE on behalf of the GEM Consortium. The UAE achieved the highest score on our National Entrepreneurship Conditions Index in 2021. And so I would like to present you with our letter of congratulations on behalf of GEM, and then pass you the floor for your keynote address. And many thanks again for hosting GEM at Expo 2020 Dubai. Thank you very, very much. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eileen. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which has helped to be a compass for all countries globally that are aspiring to demystify and understand entrepreneurship. It's a highly complex system, which at the heart of it depends on the talent that you have and the diversity that you have. And I think the UAE has really gone a long way by providing an ecosystem that's able to attract the best talent and also create the best talent. We have UAE University and other universities here with us today, and as well Dr. Thani, who's also responsible to help us attract the best talent globally. So really can't start talking about entrepreneurship without talking about the diversity and your ability to attract talent. I'd also like to congratulate everyone here who have, this is an ecosystem play between Khalifa Fund, Dubai SME, Rawad, Shara', Emirates Development Bank as well. I hope I haven't missed anyone, all the universities. It has been a journey where we have been increasing in our rankings. We're the 5th and the 4th, and now, alhamdulillah, we are the 1st. I think one of the things that we have learned in 2021 was, as a government, the number one priority was to invest heavily in the healthcare system. The best support that you can give entrepreneurs is not necessarily access to funding or subsidies. It's mostly the ability to be able to conduct business. And that's exactly what the UAE has managed to succeed in. We have went on a short-term lockdown in the summer of 2020, but we never went back again. Instead, the government decisively decided to invest heavily in the healthcare system. First of all, in the sense of number of tests per day, we're one of the highest globally, and then into vaccination. The UAE right now is the highest number in terms of vaccination globally, which also has helped us to maintain the operation and to be able to allow entrepreneurs to conduct business. That, from my perspective, was one of the biggest reasons why we were able to achieve this ranking of being the 1st globally. The second point that I've mentioned, and I say it again, is also talent. Entrepreneurship, I think, is one of the things where, as a government, you really can't enforce it top-down. It's a grassroots. People need to feel comfortable. They need to see the opportunity. And the UAE offers the opportunity for nationals and expats alike. And the numbers speak for themselves. Today, 42% of all VC-backed startups have actually incorporated outside the UAE and moved into the UAE to seek that funding, to start in the UAE and to expand globally. So once again, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'd like to congratulate you all. This is everybody's award, and being number one is the easy part. Staying at the top is the difficult part. Thank you all.
It's a pleasure to thank you, Your Excellency. It's a pleasure now to invite His Excellency Dr. Zaki Nusilba to the podium. Thank you.
It is my honor to have the opportunity to address you today at the global launch of the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor report. I wish to continue and reinforce the remarks made by His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Belloul, Minister of State for Entrepreneurship and Small and Medium Enterprises, and to place the work of the UAE University in the context of what he has outlined. Entrepreneurship has been a central feature of UAE policy and strategy since the foundation of the nation. Entrepreneurs are transformational leaders, able to convince people that change is possible and worthwhile. We are blessed to have had such leaders at the helm from the beginning. To build the economic, social, and environmental infrastructure that we enjoy today, the UAE has required entrepreneurial skills of innovation, critical problem solving, and risk taking. We have relied on the investments of entrepreneurs in establishing SMEs to diversify and make sustainable the economic fabric of the country. We have invested in the creative sector, providing the infrastructure to support cultural industries that stimulate us to imagine alternative possibilities. Entrepreneurship is vital to the future development of the UAE. It is for this reason that we have the National Entrepreneurship Agenda 2031 and the 50 Economic Plan, which sets the goal for the UAE to achieve global recognition for its robust entrepreneurial ecosystem. Yet these documents recognize that today, entrepreneurship and national economic development are policy agendas that are essentially interconnected to global sustainability in economic, social, and environmental domains. They also recognize that such global sustainability depends on entrepreneurial thought and action. We continue to require people who are able to critically analyze complex problems and create innovative solutions. We continue to require people who are able to take the risk to invest in change. We continue to require transformational leaders able to persuade others to change their expectations, attitudes, and actions. As the University of the Future, the UAEU provides the educational and research accelerators to drive forward the UAE's national priorities and principles for the next 50 years. The university's research activity is geared to outcomes such as patents, translation to industry, and blue skies innovation. We drive future sustainability by offering practical solutions to improve inclusion and cohesion in social, environmental, and commercial affairs. We link to and progress international agendas for advanced technology and the fourth industrial revolution. We partner with industry, government, and communities to identify the transformations needed for long-term development. This work builds a stock of intellectual resources that directly inform the entrepreneurial assets of the educational programs that students follow. We therefore graduate young people who have skills of innovation, critical problem solving, and risk taking, and the aptitudes of flexibility and leadership. These graduates are the future generations who, having grown up in a culture of entrepreneurship, will establish the UAE as a global entrepreneurial hub for professionals, independent business people from all over the world, and new ventures. For this reason, the UAE is also proud to spearhead the GEM research within the UAE. The GEM report provides data on entrepreneurial activity, infrastructure, and trends that is needed by decision makers at all levels and all sectors to understand and take action, whether in academic research, policy formation, financial investment and spending, or international organization and thought leadership. The UAE's contribution to the globally networked GEM infrastructure also demonstrates our wish to foster and forge the international collaborations that provide for future security, stability, and sustainability. I will go just 1 minute over my time to say I commend the work of all those who have contributed to the production of this wonderful resource on entrepreneurship in the UAE. I also commend the wider network of international partners who provide similar inputs for other nations. Let us remember that the sustainability of our future is mutually dependent and interconnected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I really appreciate your words. Could I call Her Excellency Dr. Alia Al-Mazroui to the podium, please? Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Your Excellencies and distinguished guests. It's my utmost pleasure to commence today's launch of the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor 2021-2022 Global Report titled Opportunity Amid Disruption. This imperative and extremely special report will undoubtedly play a vital role in providing our entrepreneurial ecosystem with insights and knowledge that will help business maneuver around disruptions and help them to identify key opportunities. As you may be aware, Khalifa Fund for Enterprise Development and GEM have a strong and positive working relationship with one another, which has spanned over multiple years and resulted in a number of reports which have been exceedingly beneficial assets to our entrepreneurial ecosystem. As an organization that's dedicated to the advancement of the UAE's entrepreneurial ecosystem, it is my absolute pleasure to be working alongside GEM, the Ministry of Economy, and the United Arab Emirates University, again, and for Khalifa Fund to be the proud sponsor yet of another invaluable report. Khalifa Fund has historically been an organization dedicated to the advancement of the UAE's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And it's my pleasure to be working again with GEMS in creating this amazing report and for future reports, hopefully. And we're devoted to the enhancement of the framework in which our entrepreneurs operate in. We're constantly striving to identify innovative new ways in which we can provide support for our entrepreneurs, startups, and SMEs. And since inception, we have continually conceptualized and delivered a vast array of specialized programs, workshops, initiatives, training, guidance, and support for the ecosystem in the United Arab Emirates. As the title suggests, this report will give a deep insight on how small and medium enterprises can mitigate challenges and overcome them to become successful businesses in the face of an adversity and an environment that has constantly varying challenges. Whether there are economical implications due to COVID-19, sustainable challenges, or other global impacts, there are always solutions to problems. Enterprise can be the most challenging and the most rewarding of endeavors, and I'm confident that the knowledge within this report will aid our entrepreneurs with the insights they need to be a successful business. As we celebrate the launch of the GEMS report, I hope you all have a wonderful and insightful day, as we have many highly esteemed guest speakers who will be shedding light on some of the fascinating topics. And thank you again.
Thank you, Her Excellency. I'd like to now call to the podium Professor José Ernesto Armoros Espinosa, who is the interim chair of the GEM JERA board and representing also GEM Mexico, who will make some remarks.
Your Excellencies, authorities from United Arab Emirates, colleagues from around the world, entrepreneurs, and all the people that are following us for this important and relevant event from the launch of the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Report 2021-2022 that are follow us by internet and the connectivity that the technology permit us to stay together. On behalf of the Global Entrepreneurship Research Association, the umbrella organization that hosts the GEM project, I extend our gratitude for your presence today. It's a great honor to introduce the presentation of our report, Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, Opportunity Amid Disruption. GEM, as you know, is the unique research that always been highlighted and valuable by different stakeholders from academia, policymakers, international organizations, and obviously entrepreneurs. We are living probably one of the most disruptive period in our lives in the modern history of the world, caused by COVID-19 pandemic. But we strongly believe that entrepreneurship, it's one of the most relevant mechanisms, not only for recover after this crisis of the post-pandemic area, but also for development in the huge terms that include obviously economic but social development. We hope that the results of this report and also the forthcoming GEM reports from each country that participate this year, the 47 participant teams, our databases, and obviously all the research that emerge from GEM data will be an invaluable support for building back better in the post-pandemic area. So it's a great honor and a pleasure to introduce the results of this year report and obviously extend the gratitude for all the people that support the launch for today. It's the unique opportunity, as Aline mentioned, be here in probably one of the most relevant spotlight events around the world, the Expo 2020 in Dubai. But obviously, it's relevant to acknowledge all the people that are behind this great effort of GEM, Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. Obviously, our global sponsor, Babson College, and the specific global report sponsors, the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Economy, the Khalifa Fund of Entrepreneurship Development, Cartier's Women Initiative, and Figure School of Management. Thank you very much for endorse and support this extraordinary research. And without more introductions, I want to make this important event so relevant for entrepreneurs, so relevant for the policymakers that have the decision to endorse and support entrepreneurship around the world. So to present the results of this year, I want to introduce our good colleague and friend, Professor Niels Bosma, and our good colleague also and lead author of the report, Professor Stephen Hill, that they will give us the introduction of the report. And obviously, we invite you to read in depth the results of this year report and obviously follow all the forthcoming results that emerge from the national teams reports. Thank you very much, and it is a pleasure to stay with us today. And again, thank you to UAE authorities to support this project for this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernesto, and also from my side, dear entrepreneurs, dear policymakers, your excellencies, and other entrepreneurship supporters that we have in this room. Very warm welcome to you all. I also would like to thank the UAE authorities, but also importantly the GEM team, UAE, who have done a great job in enabling this great event at this very important venue. It is a privilege to present some highlights of this very heavy report with a lot of insights. So my name is Niels Bosma. I'm the senior advisor for the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor and also a board member in my daily life, a professor at Utrecht University in the Netherlands. So I will present this along with Stephen Hill. But it's important to mention that we are not the only authors. It's very much a collaborative effort. So I would also like to thank Alicia Corduras, Maribel Guerrero, Mohamed Rumi, Eileen UNESCO Summers, Srivas Sahasranaman, Jeffrey Shea, and Stephen Hill, who will follow suit later on in the presentation. We all contributed to this report, but not only us as authors, also the GEM data team has had a very important contribution, the coordination team at large with GEM, and importantly all national teams, many of which are represented here as well, as we will have our annual meeting tomorrow. So thank you all for contributing to this report. Presenting the main highlights of a report like the GEM report in about 15 minutes is a challenging task, right? There's a lot of tables, figures, a lot of information, many countries and many different patterns. So we will try to give you some highlights, but indeed also a big recommendation to not only read the report, but also later on when the national teams are publishing their national reports to really dive into these reports. You will see some figures and data, but I would like to start actually with a very different figure. I need to scroll a bit further to also show the names. So this is what it is about. So before we get into the data and the figures, I really would like to highlight also from the GEM researchers in the audience. This is the reason why we study this, right? We want to support those people who are taking the risk, creating value for themselves, but also for others. Could be small communities, could be nationwide, could be even international. But this is what it is about. As Ernesto also showed, also in times of disruption during the COVID crisis, these are the people that can lead the path to new directions. Also addressing the societal issues that we are facing from the social side as well as the environmental side. These are entrepreneurs that are also featured in the global report. So if you can read more about very different activities that they pursue because there's no stereotype of entrepreneurship. It's not only about the high-tech entrepreneur who's pushing the boundaries. It's also about entrepreneurs who do something for their local communities, for example, family businesses, etc. All right, so let's go a bit to what GEM is about. Well, I'm happy that Aileen already introduced you some of these numbers. Still good to see these numbers also highlighted here. So in the meantime, since 1999, we've gathered information from more than 3 million adults around the globe, which is really an amazing data set. So aside from this figure, it's also maybe important to mention that we have more than 1,000 academic publications based on GEM. So it's also a very credible source, and also more than 3,000 experts have been surveyed. So indeed, it's really the largest data collection effort on entrepreneurial dynamics across the globe. And these are the economies that are participating this year, so have collected data in 21 for the GEM. For convenience, we have put these into different income level groups. So I would like to also note that this is not necessarily the same as, for instance, the World Bank income groups. So given the variation in income levels we have in GEM, we have grouped the countries according to these levels. So it's just for the sake of presentation. All right. Two key sources, data sources that we have in GEM. First is the adult population survey. As you probably know, this is a key data source leading to this big database that I talked about. So in every country, every year, more than 2,000 respondents are interviewed. So that we can learn more in a consistent and harmonized way about perceptions, attitudes, but also the type of activities they pursue. So that is also very important. Also aspirations like growth expectations and innovation. And then we have the expert survey. That means that in every country that participates, at least 36 experts on different aspects of entrepreneurship are surveyed mainly on elements of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So that leads up to the Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Index. Right, so obviously, it's really 21 is the second year of the coronavirus pandemic and very crucial also for entrepreneurship. So first of all, we included the question for the adults that are interviewed, the extent to which the COVID pandemic actually impacted their household income. So we see that this is still also in 21 has had a very negative effect for many individuals across the globe. We see that in the higher income levels that is less the case, which is probably to be expected. We also observe that the funds available for entrepreneurs made available by the governments are a bit more extensive in these countries. So this is something that could have been expected. Again, you also see some people who actually report that their income has been positively affected. So that's also happening. We also asked the entrepreneurs, so these are early stage entrepreneurs, I will get back to that later, to what extent they feel that it's more difficult to start a business than a year ago in their country. Yeah, we see that in many countries, this is also a very high percentage. In 17 out of the 48 economies, this is higher than 50% actually. It was higher last year when we measured it, so, but still, also this year, compared to 2020, when we had the first year of the coronavirus pandemic, it was even more difficult to start a business in their perception. So that's also a key result, but you can also see the large variation across countries. One thing we measure is the individual perception. So you see here two measures. The blue one is about how easy it is to start a business in the perception of the individual adults. So not only the entrepreneurs, but the entire population. And the orange bars represent the percentage of the individuals that indicate that they believe have the skills, knowledge to start a business themselves. So also here you see quite a large variations. You see, for example, countries where the blue bars are higher. So in my country it's easy to start a business. And if I can point at, for instance, countries in Scandinavia, that is the case. So that percentage is higher than the percentage of persons perceiving the skills and knowledge to start a business themselves. You see also that the other way around in countries like Belarus and Spain and Turkey. Yeah, that may be insightful for policymakers as well, that perhaps they can do something to at least make that perception easier. Right, so this is about individual perceptions. We have more indicators, you will see that in the report. From research, we know that these are linked to entrepreneurial activity in a positive way, and a significant positive way. So it's important to also see to what extent indeed these perceptions are actually catered to in countries. So these are some main indicators on activity. Like I said, there's more specific indicators about growth orientation, innovation orientation, etc. The early stage entrepreneurial activity represents the number of people that are either actively setting up a business for themselves or are in the process of owning and managing businesses that is up to 3.5 years old. So it's really indeed the early stage entrepreneurial activity. And the blue bars, the orange bars is established entrepreneurship, which is a more stable measure. So the early stage is really presenting the dynamics of entrepreneurship, and the orange bars, the percentage of established businesses, which is also important. So you, as a country, you want to have a good balance between the two. And also here you see very different patterns. So in some economies, actually, like in Greece, the number of established is actually much higher than the number of early stage. So you can wonder, do we have enough entrepreneurial dynamism in our economy? And the other way around is also valid. All right. GDP levels and early stage entrepreneurial activity, well, we analyzed these for many years, and I think the only pattern that we found is that there is no consistent pattern there. So all you see here, maybe if you would draw a correlation, you would see a slightly negative relation, but there's so much variation. It's not statistically significant. So there's a lot to say, even if you see these early stage entrepreneurial rates within the country. So it is really important to look at the country context. So what is making, why do we have this number? How can we relate this to the conditions that we have in our country? Because there may be a mismatch there as well. So it's really important to get people together. And we also hope that the global and national reports will serve in doing so, to get people around the table to discuss, okay, what are the strong aspects here? What are the bottlenecks? And how can we improve? All right. So my summary slides on some of the key findings of the first 3 chapters, basically, of the global report. We do find strong effects of COVID-19 on household incomes, also on the perceptions to start up a business. That is perceived to be more difficult. So who knows, hopefully that will be more positive later this year. Also, the implications on entrepreneurship differ, right? So we see entrepreneurs who are reporting problems also for their household incomes, and their turnover goes down. So all sorts of problems arise. Also here, the implications differ per country. Also depends on the compensation schemes made available by the governments. But we also see many entrepreneurs seeing new opportunities. And also this year, even more than last year, more people are indicated that they see entrepreneurial opportunities coming out of the crisis. Also here, different patterns across the globe. So again, also have a look at your national reports and national findings. It's also important to go beyond like this general measure of TEA. So combine figures, see what indicators are there, try to see commonalities, links between that, and indeed discuss this. So again, my call is also to check out the GEM national reports that will be coming out in the near future. All right, I think this is the point where Stephen can take over. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Niels. I'm only going to say good morning and go straight on, except I just want to add it's a pleasure to be back in the UAE. It's the only place I go where every time I go it's different. One of the things that is different about the GEM report this year is that we've looked at the variations in entrepreneurial activity within different groups. This is important because underrepresentative groups have got a negative impact not only on the group, but also on the economy and the society. This year, we've looked at variations by age group, by gender, and by educational attainment. The slide shows the variations by age group. There are lots of reasons why different groups have got different levels of entrepreneurial activity. It could be access to resources, it could be awareness of markets, it could be the personal circumstances or whatever. What the slide shows is entrepreneurial activity by age group in each of those 47 economies. And it shows, in fact, that the levels of entrepreneurial activity amongst the younger group, and the younger group are the 18 to 34-year-olds, is typically greater than that amongst older groups. It's greater in 36 of the 47 economies, including more than double in 5 countries, which are Italy, Croatia, Poland, Slovenia, and Canada. There are notable exceptions, including Norway and Korea, where older people are more likely to be starting a business. I think there's much more work to do here, and I think the reasons may have much more to do with culture than with economy. One of the themes of the global report in recent years has been a focus on the gender gap, on the difference between entrepreneurial activity amongst men and women. There are only 4 of the 47 economies in GEM this year where the level of entrepreneurial activities for women is higher than that for men. Those 4 are Kazakhstan, Spain, the Dominican Republic, and Morocco. None are from the highest income group, but there are also 5 economies where men were twice as likely or more to be starting a business than women, 3 of which are from the highest income group. Those 5 economies are Japan, Egypt, Turkey, Norway, but also the UAE. So higher income does not imply, or not necessarily imply, greater gender equality in early stage entrepreneurship. There's some notion from the GEM special report that women entrepreneurs may have borne the brunt of the pandemic. It's hardly surprising, given the disproportionate burden in terms of childcare, homeschooling, etc. One of the things that GEM has done in recent years is to look at motivations for starting a business. It asks entrepreneurs, those starting or running a new business, if they agree with 4 defined motives. The slide we've got in front of us looks at the level of agreement with 2 different motives: making a difference in the world and building great wealth or high income. Making a difference is popular with all income groups, but it's especially popular amongst the low-income group. 7 out of 10 of the lowest income economies had got more than half their entrepreneurs agreeing with this. Only 5 economies had less than 1 in 5 people of their entrepreneurs agree. Those were Kazakhstan, also Korea, Morocco, Poland, and the Slovak Republic. Not surprisingly, building great wealth is universally popular, including 17 economies where more than 2 out of 3 entrepreneurs agreed with this, although it's less popular in Japan and parts of Europe. This is looking at the other 2 specified motives. To continue a family tradition, this is important in just a few economies. Agreed by more than half of those starting or running a new business in only 8 of the 47 economies. Earning a living because jobs are scarce is very popular, especially in the low and middle income economies. Of the 28 level B, which is the middle income, and level C, the low income, of those 28 economies, only 1, which was Kazakhstan, had less than half their entrepreneurs agree with this. The report also looks at motivation by age and by gender. And I've lost slide 4. Here we go. Okay. One of the things that GEM has been doing in recent years is to construct this thing we call the National Entrepreneurship Context Index, where we ask identified national experts to assess each of 13 characteristics of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And as we've heard, the UAE scores highest overall, scores highest on 4 of the 13 entrepreneurial framework conditions, although the Netherlands and Finland are not far behind, so don't stop. Okay? There's a clear association with levels of income. Of the 10 highest scores, 8 of them are high-income economies. Of the 10 lowest scores, there are 7 that are low-income economies. One interesting feature, and not only this year, is that entrepreneurial education in schools typically scores bottom of all 13 framework conditions. This year it scored bottom in more than 3/4 of the 50 economies. On the face of it, this is relatively easy to fix. But until we fix it, generations of kids will leave school knowing little about how their economies work and about starting a business as a career and life option. Okay. Almost finished. These are the conclusions that we draw at the end of the report. Each of these is based on evidence. Support for household incomes, we've heard already. Actions to overcome the fear of failure. Too many economies, loads of people intend to start a business, but the fear of failure prevents them. We need support for new businesses as well as established ones because we've seen it's increasingly difficult to start. We need more support for women and older groups and older people in starting businesses. We want to encourage new and established businesses to use more digital technology. And if your business is going to be sustainable, then we're encouraging entry with a differentiated product into business services. Finally, I want to thank the national teams. It's the national teams that generate the data, and for doing so in the most trying of circumstances. And of course, I want to thank the GEM team, especially Francis, Forrest, and Aileen, all of my co-authors. The global report is truly a team effort. And I'm going to finish with this slide because it's a reminder. We talk about numbers, but we're really dealing with people. Every entrepreneur is different, but each and every one of them have made that brave decision to have a go. So good luck to all of them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. And you ended on a very good note to allow us to pass over to the next speaker, actually, because we're going to hear from a successful entrepreneur. And her name is Ms. Huala Hamad. She's the founder and CEO of Takalam Online Counseling, and I would like to call you to the podium. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, your excellencies, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. It's a pleasure and honor to be with all of you and to be selected as as a small example and one of the many successful stories in the UAE. My journey with Takalam has started almost a year and a half ago, and it has been a life-changing experience full of challenges and a lot of learning opportunities. I have gained a lot of experience in going through several aspects of starting a business, running a business, and maintaining the business. Mental health, as Takalam, started early last year, and we have been operational since only March last year. I started Takalam basically on a personal experience, like many of those who start in this sector in specific. They go through the personal experience and they want to make a change accordingly. So mental health, as we come to have a look as a global issue in the world, there is 1 in 4 individuals that suffer from a mental health and illness in the form of depression or anxiety. This is according to the World Health Organization. When we look closer to the MENA region, the numbers are extremely alarming, where there is over 1 million people in the MENA region suffer from depression and anxiety, with limited access to mental health care due to the social stigma, affordability, and shortage of professionals. The issue became even bigger with the pandemic. A study by Oxford University showed that 1 in 3 people recovered from COVID will likely experience mental health challenge, again in the form of depression and anxiety. However, the pandemic has helped us realize the importance of mental health. We noticed an increased amount of initiatives creating awareness by government and communities. We are blessed in the UAE to take a lead in supporting the community when it comes to creating national campaigns that support mental health for the community, as our leadership even normalizing the topic by opening the subject publicly and talking about it. Here's a quote from His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed. He mentioned, there is no shame in suffering from a mental illness or a mental condition, but the shame is to ignore it. So with all of that, a personalized solution is still needed to take an action on an individual level. So there comes Takalam. Takalam is the Arabic word for talk. It's a digital solution for mental well-being. Takalam connects individuals and entities with mental health experts through a digital and personalized experience. Using video, audio, or instant messages with the option of anonymity to minimize the stigma. We guide users and individuals through the process before starting their journey towards mental well-being. And this is through an AI-powered tools and resources to help them find the right support. Our mission is to increase accessibility to mental health care and break the cultural stigma around it for the benefit of the community. We work closely with government departments and corporate entities that are looking to enhance their employees' well-being at the workplace as they realize the importance of investing in such an initiative for the return of investment in terms of productivity. Today, we have users from over 18 countries around the world, 30,000 community members from everywhere, and our vision is to continue at the same rate for the next few years. We recently closed a pre-seed funding round with over $1 million in funding from angel investors as well as the Silicon Valley Venture Capital Plug and Play, in addition to a government grant received from Abu Dhabi Investment Office. We seized the right opportunity in the right place where the environment to thrive as a startup, as an entrepreneur, is like no other around the world. Our visionary leadership, the advanced ecosystem, and the ease of doing business were all the right ingredients that we needed to start. I have nothing but gratitude and to express to all those who believed in Takallam and continue to support us. Lastly, when I'm asked how does it feel being a female entrepreneur, I say it feels amazing. I have never felt so empowered, and my message here I'd like to send to all the young girls, starting with my own daughter, that in the UAE, there is no glass ceiling to be broken. The sky is the limit as long as you work hard and stay committed. Thank you.
Many thanks, Samad. Actually, I will point over here to my left, but to your right, the Women's Entrepreneurship Report, and also the paper on women's entrepreneurship and emerging economies that we will be exploring this afternoon. Women's entrepreneurship is a flagship, a special topic for GEM, as is increasingly impact of entrepreneurship on the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's the reason why we're running 2 events on those 2 topics this afternoon. So you're kindly invited to continue and stay with us today, into the afternoon, I mean. For now, we're going to actually have a group photo on stage. I would ask you to stay in your seats. It will only take 5 minutes, and then I will let you know when you can leave your seats and go to the coffee break. Thank you.